Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
So what's in your wallet? It's a question that's been made famous by Capital One, credit card industry. All these cards nowadays have points programs and rewards and cash backs and all sorts of things. It's been a burgeoning industry. This week, we've had some big changes in the Canadian points and rewards business. One of the originators, really, Air Miles, is being rebranded. And one of the big gas companies, gasoline retailers, Shell, is changing to a different points program. So there's a good chance you've got one of these programs, whether it's Air Miles or Scene or some of the others, in your wallet or on your phone or what have you. And you're going to get some notifications from these companies about the changes to come. So let's get into it. My name is Mike Eppel, and you're listening to In This Economy. And joining me to talk about all the changes to the rewards and points programs already in this year, Patrick Sojka is the founder of RewardsCanada.ca. Hello there, Patrick. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thank you for joining me. I heard about Air Miles changing names, and I'm going, oh, that's kind of interesting. Full disclosure, I've been an Air Miles points collector for years. And I remember, I think when it was at first introduced, I was like, what is this travel rewards program business all about? And then, it's obviously grown exponentially since then. But the idea of BMO, which now owns Air Miles, rebranding something that is, look, let's face it, it's a thing in Canada. People are well versed in the name. What's kind of the backstory to the idea of rebranding it to what's going to be called Blue Rewards?
I think you hit the nail on the head with what you would mention there. Well, what is this travel rewards program? And I think that is probably one of the key changes to this rebranding, this transition to Blue Rewards, is that a lot of Canadians still believe Air Miles is just a travel rewards program. And I mean, no fault to them because the name is Air Miles. And I don't think a lot of people realize that it was way beyond that. In fact, for probably the last 15 years in its 34-year history, or probably even longer than 15 years, it has been more about everyday rewards like merchandise, or their what they had as their cash miles, which actually just ended over the weekend. But redeeming Air Miles for $10 off at the pump with Shell or at PharmaSave or their various partners. I don't think a lot of people were aware that I had a very strong everyday value proposition, and that is kind of the whole, I think, idea behind this is like let's rebrand it, let's change it, let's make it known that we are an everyday program and not just a travel program.
Oh, geez. Air Miles was founded in 1992.
Yeah.
I'm old.
Yeah.
I'm so old.
I know.
But yeah, you're right, though, because I've used it for, cashing in miles on occasion, take trips, again, specifically for either airfare or hotels. I don't think I've ever bought anything from a merchandise perspective on Air Miles. Go back though to the fact that like Air Miles a few years ago got bought out by BMO. What led to that entire transaction? Because there was already the link between Air Miles and BMO just from a point standpoint.
Yeah, so they had the credit card, they had the partnerships where BMO had the co-brand credit cards for Air Miles. And what happened was at that time, it was owned by a company called Loyalty One out of the US, and that parent company declared bankruptcy. Coming up on 3 years now. Mm-hmm. And so rather than let Air Miles just fall by the wayside or maybe get taken over by some other company, Bank of Montreal, put in the offer to the bankruptcy courts that will buy Air Miles. And it made sense for them because they had a very large credit card portfolio, all these people who held their Air Miles credit cards. So it's just kind of a logical move for them to go ahead and buy this from the bankrupt parent company. There is quite a long backstory behind that as to, probably what led to some of this bankruptcy. Air Miles did have its trials and tribulations definitely through the 2010s there with the expiring mile fiasco that transpired in 2016. And then after that, losing some major partners. So they definitely had some problems, which I think led up to that. But Bank of Montreal has really, what I've been saying for the last couple of years, injected a lot of money into them and, have revitalized the program. And I think just this next step is just further revitalization to going beyond the Air Miles name.
Yeah. So Blue Rewards is the new name. What are they saying this is going to give to you? Like, how is that going to, other than the name change, what's that going to change? How is it going to change the program at all?
Well, no, the program, the skeleton stays the same. Even Air Miles collectors right now will not, notice anything really. It's going to be a seamless transition coming this summer. Everything's going to move into Blue Rewards. I'm assuming, I'm not sure, you'll have to probably download a new Blue Rewards app. I mean, there'll be some things that the consumers have to do, but nothing major. Um, it's moving from miles to points. The way the points will show up in your accounts will look different. They're going to be higher up. So something like 95 miles will become 1,500 blue points, but the redemption value stays the same. So right now, say $95 or 95 miles equals $10 for a cash redemption.
Right.
1,500 points will equal $10 as well. So it's just they're going to give you a conversion rate. All those miles will be multiplied by whatever the conversion rate is, and then the value is still going to be the same on the redemption. But they're really designing it, like they said, to provide a lot of everyday value. That's their messaging to Canadians by adding, a lot of like they're adding MTY Group restaurants as partners. So like Thai Express, Jugo Juice, Mucho Burrito, all these places that people are using, maybe not on a daily basis, but even weekly or monthly, where you can be earning the points. And we're hoping, I'm still waiting to hear the details on this. Some of those you may be able to redeem the points at as well. Like you get your $10 off those 1,500 points. So we'll just have to wait to see if that happens. But yeah, so they're adding a lot of these partners because there's some programs out there, even Air Miles to a point, outside of when they had Shell, it wasn't the program that you could earn in like every day or every few days. Maybe some people would earn once a month or once every few months. So they're trying to bring in a lot of everyday partners where you can earn, on a more frequent basis. And I think the whole idea behind it is just to tack onto that whole people need help financially. There's a lot of financial stuff going on right now in the world, with inflation and everything. And I've said this myself a lot of times. These loyalty programs can help you, in your budgeting, in your finances. They can let you, save a little bit of money or maybe spend a little bit more. Like say you have a $60 budget and you have $20 worth of points. Well, then you can go out and buy $80 worth of stuff and things like that. So I think that's kind of the whole premise of this as well. It's just going to be to help you out on a daily basis.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned Shell jumping ship from Air Miles. They're going over to Scene Plus, which is owned by Scotiabank. So that kind of opens the door then for Air Miles to figure out what its gas partner is going to be, I guess, at some point. But how much competition behind the scenes is going on here for, in this case, Scotiabank, partnering now with Shell, and was BMO saying, hey, we'll give you this, that, and the other thing to try to keep them on board. I'm curious about how much, a battle behind the scenes we see, because there are so many of these points programs.
Yeah, I wish I could see what happened behind the scenes as to what was going on. We can only make assumptions that, perhaps, Shell's contract with Air Miles was coming due and they went out, and sent out an RFP to other programs, to see what's out there. And Scene Plus came ahead, or Scene Plus was really pushing hard to get Shell, because a lot of people did discuss, or a lot of consumers said all that Scene Plus is missing is a gas partner, because they have groceries, they have the Empire Group, Sobeys, Safeway, IGA, Thrifty Foods, all of those. They have Scotia as their payment partners. You have Cineplex, they have dining. So they have a lot of options too. And a lot of people say all that's missing is gas. So maybe Scene Plus initiated this. We don't know. I'm just making all these kind of guesses here as to what's going on. So,
Sobeys had previously been with Air Miles.
That's right. Sobeys was. And again, Scene Plus, grabbed them. And the big deal there was that, Cineplex and Scotia, Cineplex was the Scene Plus, Scene company at that time. Wasn't Scene Plus yet. Scotia had their own Scotia Rewards, so all three of them joined together. So Empire Group, that owns Sobeys and that, and Scotia and Scene Plus and Cineplex all joined together to make Scene Plus. And the deal was that Empire Group became 1/3 owner of Scene Plus by moving from Air Miles to Scene Plus. So I think that was an idea for them, that there was actually they didn't have to pay anything. They just became an owner. It's like, yeah, we'll move our program to Scene Plus. So it was kind of an ideal deal for the Empire Group to move over to Scene Plus in that regard.
Who is RBC in cahoots with? Are they? I've noticed I'm getting things from PetroCan and Canadian Tire linked to my RBC card.
Yeah, RBC has a lot too, and that's what you're saying. Like, there's so much. I'd just be curious to see what goes on behind the scenes between all these programs. Yeah, RBC has They've connected to to Petro Canada. They've connected to more rewards out east. They've connected to more rewards out west here. Just so many different connections. You have Triangle Rewards connecting with people as well. Triangle's connecting with Tim Rewards. Triangle's going to connect with WestJet Rewards. There is all this. I mean, that's the trend right now in loyalty programs, is called linked loyalty. So that's where, instead of choosing one or the other, the companies are kind of coming together where you can earn in both. So, like, you can go to Tim's and you can earn your or your Triangle CT money and your Tim's points and things like that. So, so that's going on. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see this new Blue Rewards come out with some linked loyalty partnerships. I mean, my hope is, they mentioned they're bringing Porter Airlines, Accor Hotels, which owns Fairmont Hotels. Hopefully we'll see some linked loyalty there, or the options to transfer points between the various loyalty programs for them. So it's a very dynamic and a very exciting time right now in all these loyalty programs that's going on.
And Marriott, if memory serves, is tied to Amex, because I've seen things about switching points between those two. So how do we have any indication what would the average number of points programs that the average Canadian would have?
Depends on the survey you look at. It can be anywhere from as little as 6 to as high as, I believe, 18 or something like that.
As few as 6. I was thinking maybe 3 or 4. And you're saying it could be as high as 18. That's a lot of passwords to remember.
Yeah, exactly. But then the question arises is, like, how many are they active in versus how many they are a member of? Like, I'm a member of probably about 150 or 60 because but that's part of my job. I join all the programs so that I get all the communications and learn all about them. So, I have tons of them, but yeah, it's like, I would say most Canadians are probably active in 3 to 6 programs, but are members of, gosh, it's probably even higher when you take into account even your local coffee shop. If they have like a buy 10, get 1 free type thing, that counts as 2. So, it could be in the couple dozen.
Yeah. Well, and then you get into individual apps, individual restaurants or what have you.
Exactly.
Moi Rewards, which is Metro.
Yeah.
McDonald's, of course, has their
Starbucks, you name it.
Starbucks, sure.
Tim's, all of them have,
What a burgeoning exercise, but the fact you've got that many on your plate, I don't envy you trying to remember all those. Is there a direct correlation, for example, with Scotiabank? They get in, they set up Scene Plus. Do they talk about seeing an increase in business, just banking business, as a result of this? Are they signing up customers for
that is the idea. That is the idea. They don't really reveal the data behind it, but that is the idea between these, or between co-brand partnerships. Scotia's a little different because they do own part of Scene Plus, but you mentioned like Marriott and Amex. There is a Marriott credit card that is being, that you can get through American Express, and it's called a co-brand partnership. So American Express is actually paying Marriott for each point that is issued on those cards. But it is about, bringing more people into the Marriott Bonvoy ecosystem while American Express gets the credit card. And the same thing, with Scene Plus, when you walk into an Empire store, whether it's Sobeys, Safeway, any of the brands, IGA, you'll see all the marketing for get yourself a Scene Plus credit card. And that's, Scotia trying to increase people, getting into their portfolio.
Well, the Journey program, for gas stations, Ultramar, Pioneer. I think who else is in the mix there?
They have Chevron out west.
That's
Fast Gas out west.
I mean that's a good one. I'm on that one, and I get some days 10 cents off a liter of gas. I mean that's pretty substantial.
It can be, absolutely, and and that's a very competitive space, the fuel space, because you have Triangle, with Canadian Tire and Petro. Triangle's connected to Petro Points. Petro Points just launched what they call a frequent fueler program, where if you buy 1,000 liters of gas within 3 months, you get platinum status, which will get you like $25 of Canadian Tire money, extra earn rates, whole bunch of things. So the fuel space alone is very competitive with all these programs. And Journey even has the connection to Aeroplan. That's another one of those linked loyalty partnerships out there. They're just everywhere, and they're all knocking on everybody's doors. That come fill up with us. We'll give you 7 cents off here, 10 cents off there. Plus you'll earn points. Plus you'll earn this. So there's a lot. And I basically for fuel, it's like I tell people it's more of a matter of convenience. Go what's more convenient for you. In terms of filling up your car.
Yeah. How much are these companies? I mean, you track all this. Are they not? I don't want to say lobbying. That's maybe not the right term, but kind of trying to explain to you exactly how their program is better than the other one when you're talking about like doing a ranking of the best rewards programs out there?
Yeah, they try. They try. They'll say this is the best or that is the best. And then you'll see right beside their best, they have a little asterisk, and then you read below, and then they have like their own criteria that it's like that. Just honestly, some of it to me as a third party who researches these things just makes me cringe. It's like, oh my gosh, that's not even true for most Canadians. But I guess they went through their legal departments like, yeah, we can say this, and it's so I in some ways I do. I feel for Canadian consumers, and that's why I try to help and educate them all because, yeah, you have to take the marketing with a grain of salt. You'll have credit cards that say, oh, we earn 5 points per dollar or 8 points per dollar, but the value of those points might be a lot less than another program that only earns 2 or 3 points, but there's more value when you redeem. So you have to look at both sides of the equation. That is my number one stressor to everybody. You have to look at both sides of the equation. Don't get sucked in by something that says, oh, you earn this many points without actually looking at the value of the points because it might be very low.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned off the top, they're switching how air miles will be tabulated from 95 points equals $10 to 1,500 now is
Exactly.
So it's like trying to do that. I mean, you need a calculus, a slide rule, and an abacus to figure it all out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So your website, RewardsCanada.ca. I mean, you go through it. Top travel rewards, annual fee, no annual fee rewards, cash back, all these things. I mean, consumers really have to study up a little bit because you can go to any given restaurant or retail and sign up for this stuff, but you're just kind of being sold at the spot without really maybe knowing about the program.
That's right.
So in that regard, but at the same time, it's like, is there a correlation between the biggest retail brands and or restaurants that have the best programs? Like, is it necessarily 1-to-1?
Yeah, it's not really, it's hard to correlate. Like I said, you have to kind of add up both sides of the equation to see, to correlate them. And yeah, this 1,500 to 10, that takes a little bit of math. Some programs are 1,000 to 10, some are 100 to 10. So you have to work out that math. Or then you have some programs like Aeroplan and even like Marriott Bonvoy we mentioned, where their redemptions are dynamic based on, cash pricing. So you actually have to, right at that specific moment, figure out what your value of your points are. So it can make things very difficult.
Just to that point, if you're buying via air miles, the number of miles you need comes back to what's the actual price of the flight, right?
That too, yeah. And you do have to compare it to what the actual price of flight is, or if you're redeeming for merchandise, what that is. The easy ones are, say, redeeming for gift cards. 1,500 blue points to $10 for a gift card. That's pretty easy. You're getting $10 value. But if you're going and redeeming 15,000 points for a flight on what will be the Blue Rewards Travel that's powered by Expedia, you'll have to go to that actual airline's website on another tab and see what is the cost of this flight. Unless sometimes some programs, they will show you the price as well in cash, like because they'll give you both options. Book with cash and you actually earn points on the flight, or redeem your points towards the flight type thing. So then you can kind of make a correlation right there and say, oh yeah, I'm redeeming 15,000 points, I'm getting a $300 ticket, so this is good for me. Something like that.
Timmy's is pretty simple. I think it's 400 points for a cup of coffee.
Exactly. And that's probably their most redeemed item. I would think the coffee has to be the most redeemed, because the others, you still have to rack up quite a bit more to get to their food level. Same thing with Starbucks, 200 points for, a coffee, or 100 for a bakery item or something like that. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And Starbucks did, I think, adjust, like, what was it, a year ago where they made it
a couple of years ago. Yeah. They had yeah. And that's why I tell people, right, some people are saving up. It's like, what, it depends, but in Starbucks, a lot of the best redemptions are those bakery items. The 100, they're 100 stars for a $4 croissant. If you want to pay that, that's your best redemption.
Yeah, good point. The other thing too about any of these credit card and partnerships for points, I mean, it does come back to the fact you can collect all sorts of points, but if you're not paying off your balance at the end of the month and paying 25% interest, you got to collect a lot of points to offset that, right?
You'll never collect enough points to offset it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is. Yeah. You have to be financially responsible if you're earning points on your credit cards, using your credit cards to boost your balances, to pay those off every month. If you're going to be paying just a minimum amount and long term paying off your credit cards, you need to move to like a low interest credit card, or or even go away from a credit card, get a line of credit, or a consolidation loan or something. I saw, if you run a balance 1 or 2 months, but then pay it off, fine and dandy. Like people at Christmas, people go spend a lot at Christmas, no need to go to a low interest card. But yeah, if you're long term holding on to debt, definitely do not go with the rewards cards.
Yeah, this is the thing. Well, listen, it's a fascinating segment of retail right now, and I really thank you very much for talking with me about it today. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Mike.
And that was Patrick Sojka, the founder of RewardsCanada.ca. Hey, thanks for listening to the In This Economy podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to reach out, my email address is mike.eppel@rci.rogers.com. On social, I'm at Eppman, EPPMAN. Again, thanks for listening. We'll talk again soon.